My name is Kay. I'm a compulsive overeater.
Hi, Kay.
And on Wednesday, I celebrated 31 years of back-to-back GreySheet actions. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the GreySheet. I write them down. I call them into my sponsor every day. I don't eat in between no matter what. And through God's grace, I've been able to do that since May the 30th, 1981. And I didn't write out anything for this talk. I figured I'm just going to make it simple this year. I have a few pictures. Those of you who have been around have already seen, but I'll just pass them around. And I have just completed my second day of full-time child care for my 6-year-old granddaughter who was out of school for the first day on Thursday. And it is only because I am abstinent on the GreySheet that I am able to do that. When I knew that my daughter and granddaughter were coming to live with me, that was one of my main fears, was the summer and knowing that I would be caring for her when my daughter was working. I was filled with panic and fear. It was so bad that I was nauseous over the thought of day after day in the summer. I just thought, how am I going to have enough energy to do that? And God gave me a wonderful course to take from my friend Terry, who gave a lot of pointers, and one of them was to make a schedule and write it out so the child can see it. And so that's what I've done. And I'm going to exercise every morning. I put her in the child care when I go to exercise. And then we have lunch, and then we read together. And then we play school. Today we had cooking school, and she helped me prepare 2 GreySheet foods, and then proceeded to eat some of them for supper, which is really amazing. And then around 4 o'clock we go to the pool. And so, you know, that's why you see me like this. And when we come home, then we water the yard in our bathing suits, and we get to water one another. So that's the day, and the 2 days have worked out well, and all my panic and fear about it is gone. And you know, that's the way it is about panic and fear. It's all about the future, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're so afraid of it. And I was so afraid of it. And you know, even though God has come through time and time again for me, the fear and panic still comes up for these things that are new. Well, I am a compulsive overeater from the beginning of my life. I was the oldest of 5 children, and I was one of the ones who loved to eat, who ate everything that my mother fixed. I was talking to my brother on the phone. Now, this is one of the gifts from this program, I believe, is that when my sister died in April, I had been talking to her on the phone every Monday night for an hour for some years. And I just, there was such a hole there, I missed it. I decided to call my brother. Now, I am the oldest, and he is the youngest. He weighs over 300 pounds. He has diabetic neuropathy, heart condition, all kinds of things wrong with him, and he doesn't get out of the house much. He mostly is on the computer or with the TV, and he doesn't talk on the phone. When I would call, he would usually say, yes, I'm fine, and here's my wife. You can talk to her. You know, that's the way it went, you know, all the years. But I just decided to do it. And we've talked every Monday since my sister died on April the 16th. And we've talked longer each time. And I think it's just a gift of this program that I was able to reach out like that to him. But anyway, that's the kind of family I come from, where we all ended up suffering from compulsive overeating or alcoholism, one of the two. And I went, whenever I got away from home, my mother would watch how much we ate and would try to keep us from overeating. But as soon as I got away from her, then I would overeat. You know, went to the Girl Scout camp, I overate. Well, I left for the convent when I was 14 years old in 1955, when this brother that I'm now forming a relationship with was 3 years old. And of course, I started overeating in the convent because I was away from my mother. And that's kind of the story of my life with food, is this up and down and up and down and up and down. When I was in the convent, I lost weight a few times. One of them, I went to a boarding school to be one of the teachers there, and I told the cook at the boarding school that I wanted to follow this certain diet and order this certain diet food. And so she did, and I lost 60 pounds that year. And I came back to Our Lady of the Lake in San Antonio, and nobody recognized me. And I walked down the hall, and people would be doing this double take, you know. Nobody recognized me. Oh, it was wonderful. I just loved it. But of course, you know, I gained it back again. And I counted calories a great number of times to lose weight. And I went to Weight Watchers. So after I met my husband, I started cooking for him. And he never overate. He didn't know how to overeat. And so he wouldn't eat enough of what I had fixed, and it would make me mad. So I'd go eat the rest of it, you know. It just didn't make any sense at all. But I did a lot of things to keep hold of my weight. I went to Weight Watchers when we were married shortly, because I had gained weight again. And Weight Watchers saw me through both of my pregnancies. But I realized when we went to a marriage encounter weekend that I was thinking of food all the time. And I said, you know, it's Weight Watchers' fault. That's why I'm thinking of food all the time. So I dropped out of Weight Watchers, and I gained weight so fast that people started asking me if I was having my third pregnancy, which I wasn't. So I counted calories again. I did a lot of unusual things. I read the Bible before every meal. That didn't help. I put bran in all my food, thinking it would make it go through faster. Well, you know, that didn't help. And I had a bite counter. It was a little machine, not much bigger than this. And I would hit a button when I'd take a bite, hit the button, and the little machine would blink a red light. When it was finished blinking, then I could take another bite, hit the button, and it would blink again. Now, the whole idea was to slow down my eating to such an extent that I could hear my apostat. So after doing this about 2 weeks or so, I thought I heard my apostat. And I said to it, shut up. And I got up and got another serving. It didn't help. In fact, I finally reached the point where I realized that none of it was helping. I was always mentally obsessed with food. I was a teacher, and I remember the food in the teacher's lounge calling my name. I knew somebody brought something. I knew it was there. I knew it all day long. It was in my mind. It's in there. It's in there. I'd leave the kids unattended so I could go in there and get some. And in fact, I remember going in there to get the last of it so it wouldn't be there anymore and it would quit calling me like that. The food in the house called me the same way. And I just never had any peace with food. Finally, when I was 40 years old, and I read a novel that described someone as 40, fat, and flatulent. Well, that was me. And I went over to my neighbor's house to see, to get my little girl who was playing over there. And there was this beautiful, slender woman with curly hair. And I always had to bring up the weight, you know, so nobody would bring it up about me. So I said to her, well, I'm sure you've never had any trouble with your weight. And she smiled and said, have you ever heard of Overeaters Anonymous? This was before the days of GreySheeters Anonymous. And I said, no. And she proceeded to tell me all about it. And she was my first sponsor, and my first day of abstinence was the next day, May the 30th, 1981. I was very my thoughts about myself and my feelings about myself were so low when I was compulsively overeating. Every other part of my life was going well. I had a wonderful husband. I had 2 beautiful children. I had a job that I loved. But when I was compulsively overeating, I hated myself. I couldn't stand to look in a mirror. I couldn't stand to go clothes shopping. My husband and I made a marriage encounter weekend, and during that, one of the weekends, I wrote something that had to do with my weight. And I like to share it on my anniversary. It was to the question, what are your deepest feelings right now? My deepest feelings right now are about my weight. I have lots of fears about it. I fear becoming fatter. I fear lack of control. I fear over-control. I fear being taken over totally by food and weight. I wish I never had to think about it. I wish I could lose weight effortlessly and never have to think about it again. I know I'm on the right track by walking. I know I should eat slowly. I know I should stop when I am satisfied. I know I should eat only when hungry. I know I should avoid junk and refined food. I feel helpless to do any of this, except the walking. I feel the need to pray and turn it completely over to the Lord. I beg of you, Lord, to decrease my desire for food, to regulate my appetite. I want to find the last diet, so to speak, which is a way of life. I don't want any temporary measures. I don't want to lose and then gain it again. That was written on April the 10th, 1981. And I met my sponsor, as I said, on May the 29th, 1981. It was an answer to prayer. And it has been an answer to that prayer that I always had in me that that I wanted to have a slender body. I always wanted that. And I never had it until I came to this program. So, you know, I thought, well, what do I want to talk about after I talk about how it was? Well, how can somebody even want to stay abstinent 31 years, you know? I think one of the things is coming to meetings, hearing people's stories, seeing people come in and out of these rooms and having attained their goal weight and then lost it again and come back. Hearing the new people that come, the pain that they're in, and knowing that could be me. It keeps it fresh for me. It keeps me in that place of knowing that I am not cured. I just have a temporary relief from this illness, and it's based on the program, on the 12 steps, on staying in the herd, as sometimes people say. And what are some of the things I do for physical abstinence? Well, I have a sponsor, and I write my food down and call it. If something unexpected happens with my food, I call my sponsor or another abstinent person. I plan my meals a week in advance, and I'm able to eat, now that I'm retired, all fresh food that I fix. But when I was working, I didn't do that. When I was working, I had a routine where I would eat canned vegetables for lunch and prepared protein like lunch meat or something like that. I would have the same finger salad every day, and I would pack my 5 lunches, and it would be boom, 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 very fast. I'd get it all done. And, you know, now I don't have to do that anymore. One of the things that I do is I do what my sponsor says about adding food. If I've lost weight, you know, I get to add food. Woohoo! That's so exciting. But then again, I have to take it away because, you know, maybe my amount of exercise changed or whatever. Recently, my weight went down so that I added protein at every meal. It was so great. But I had to go back, and now that I'm taking care of Shiloh, I think I might get to go up again. Emotional abstinence. You know, before GreySheet abstinence, I wasn't aware of my emotions. I was taught as a child that it doesn't matter how you feel. You just do what you're supposed to do. And that's kind of the way I lived. And when my husband and I made the Marriage Encounter Weekend, we learned how to share feelings with each other. And that was good, but I wasn't really able to carry that over very well to all of my relationships. One of the things that I have done for emotional abstinence is learn to ask for help. You know, when my husband had brain cancer and he was sick for 2.5 years, I learned to ask for help. And I learned how wonderful people are and how willing they are to help. We went to MD Anderson every 2 weeks for about 11 months. And all that time, every 2 weeks, people would bring me weighed and measured food to take to Houston. People in this group. I've never forgotten the way that made me feel. And spiritual abstinence. I've always been on a spiritual path. I was a nun after all. But somehow it didn't come over to my food. I had a relationship with God, but somehow God was not answering my prayers the way I wanted him to. You know, I wanted to be struck thin. I didn't want to have to work for this. I surely wouldn't have prayed for gray sheet abstinence. But it is now one of the greatest gifts in my life. A day doesn't pass that I don't see someone who reminds me of what a gift this abstinence is. This morning at yoga class, there was a woman who couldn't do a lot of what we did. And she wasn't my age yet either. And I was grateful that I was able to do those, hold those poses and do those movements. What a gift. And without abstinence, I wouldn't have even been at the yoga class. A friend of mine, I learned, is 73 years old, is so weak that she couldn't even get out of bed because she had had different problems with her hips and her knees and all of this stuff. And I just thought, there, but for the grace of this abstinence, go I. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.